Hey, what's up, everybody?
Can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Let's see. Oh no, it says I'm. You guys hear me okay? Oh, and it might be your audio settings. Hey.
Hello.
Hey,
Hey, Joe. Hey, Owen. Yeah, can hear you now, Owen.
How's the weather in Singapore, Dead Poet?
You guys can hear each other, but I can't hear you. That's great.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about now? Can you guys say something?
Hey, check. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, what the heck?
Hey, can you hear us? Yeah, we can definitely hear you.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Ah, it's on. Okay, yeah. Hang on.
Hey.
So, there might be some.
Can you dig it?
Choices, you know.
Yep, right. Exactly.
How are you guys doing?
Ah, man, so good. We it's an honor to be here. Freaking such big fans of SpookySwap and Phantom Network in general, and I'm excited to get a chat with you guys. And I feel pumped. I don't know about you, Dead Poet, but I feel pumped.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's about time, you know. I mean, that's what they say. That it's better late than never to the party, you know. So
Right.
yeah. So here we are.
Yes. Well, it's great energy. Sometimes I talk to people and they're just not much energy coming on. I've got to feed it all. I've got to give all my energy away.
Oh
so-
yeah. Yeah, we've done AMAs with like rocks that were more interesting than some people. No offensive people, but it's just like,
Yeah.
hey, are you excited about your project? I can't tell. No, we're bringing the energy. Feeling
Nice.
good.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, so people will come in,
totally.
but let's just go ahead and just start by each of you just introducing yourselves and just your kind of history getting into crypto, how you got to this point.
Yeah, I talk all the time. So, Dead Poet, why don't you start off with you? And
So I normally handle the AMA questions on chat. You know. Yeah, I can just probably introduce a bit. Yeah. So I'm all the way from sunny Singapore. You know, it's 11 p.m. for me. I've been with the team for almost a year and a half. It's been amazing working along Joel and the rest of the other team. We came from a long-term staking project, and yeah, here now we are with WAP. You know, taking it to the next level. Being with you guys on Phantom. So I handle basically the strategic partnerships and outreach I've got a team with me as well. We have Destroyer on socials, and we have Sam, who's our advisor, kick-ass guy as well. And yeah, to you, Joel.
Oh, what did you do for your day job? That's pretty cool.
Well, talking about that, tomorrow is my last day for my day job. So
Yay! Full-time crypto.
yeah, that's right. So I spent I think it's almost been 10 years dealing with broadcasting solutions for tier 1 events like Olympics and F1. My last event is actually the Oregon World Championship event that's taking place.
Yeah, my hometown.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, where most of the sports events that you see on the TV. So yeah, so we do most of the broadcast solutions. So I handle the negotiations and the proposals.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's my day job.
Yeah, what Deadpo's trying to say, but he's too humble to admit, is he handles like multi-million-dollar TV broadcast contracts.
Nice.
So like, the boring stuff. For like the Olympics and Eurovision and like big sporting events and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
That's right. That's right.
Amazing.
Nothing beats crypto.
Yep. Yeah, I can't beat crypto though.
No. Well, so what about you?
Yeah, so my background, I worked in the film industry in Los Angeles for 10 years. My first movie I worked on was Thor, so I was a lead visual effects artist for Thor, and then moved on to Captain America, Iron Man 2, The Avengers, and then a bunch of other cool and not so cool movies. X-Men First Class, I think that was actually a really fun one to work on. And so I worked on it as a visual effects supervisor on set. So I would come on location or on the soundstage where they were filming and say, hey, hey, for VFX, can we like move the camera like 2 feet this way? That'll solve all these problems in post. And then they kind of go through and do that. And then basically, while I was there, I decided, I was like, man, I love working on set. I'm not going back to a computer again. I don't want to do visual effects. This is great. So then while I was there, they kept some people on the production companies that I worked for found out that I could do visual effects. And my like debut back on, we were doing a Chrysler commercial featuring Bob Dylan for the Super Bowl. And like it was a new concept car, it hadn't even hit production yet, so we're using like a pre-production model. And during the middle of filming, the Chrysler on the front of the hood fell off. And so I was like, oh, I could put that back on there. So like on set, while I was sitting there just like waiting in between shots, I took the footage, I took the reflections off the hood, and I mapped it onto a 3D model of the Chrysler logo that I'd found online, and then just like rendered out a quick test for like the producers, and they're like, holy shit, like you did this in like an hour? Like, oh my gosh, like we pay companies like a whole bunch of money and it takes them weeks to do this stuff. I was like, yeah. So like, well, hey, why don't we just like start giving you some shots instead of shipping them out to like London or India or wherever they were going? I was like, okay, I guess that sounds great. I'll take the extra money. And then I kept getting more and more requests, so then I eventually started a company, an actual post-production company, and then did more stuff. And then right after, I'd say like 3 years in, VR in LA was just starting to come out, so it was like the early days of like the Oculus DK1 and DK2. And so I started working with, I pivoted like the whole company over to do VR. So then we did that for about 4 years. Worked on a bunch of experiences for Oculus, YouTube Red, Lego. We did Octonauts of random stuff, and then afterwards, my wife and I moved, basically sunsetted the company because we found out we were pregnant with our second kid, and then moved to Oregon, where I now live, and where Deadpoe is doing his final job. And then basically from there, I worked as a creative director for a big advertising company that was handling like big clients like Nike and all that stuff. And then eventually I found my way into crypto, and like usually with like the jobs and stuff I was working on, it'd be like weeks or months of production time. And in crypto, it was like if it's 2 days old, it's like ancient. So we got to like move super fast, and that was like, it was a lot of fun. So I worked with a project called Axion there, and I helped them with like their marketing and development and a group, and kind of built that up. And then switched over to basically a lot of that team decided, hey, we want to, instead of inheriting a project, we want to start a new project. And so that's how we launched Warp. And so all of the like the Starship design, the websites, the graphical interface, all that stuff uses a lot of my background in visual effects to like pioneer the look and feel of it. So that was a very long intro, but that's me.
Nice. So it sounds like both of you guys are pretty important.
Deadpool's way more important than I am, right, TP?
Nothing beat Iron Man and Marvel, man.
Oh, that's funny.
So what is, in a few words, what is Warp? If for someone who has no idea, what is it?
Yeah, so Warp is a GameFi project. GameFi is, I think, can be, a lot of people define it different ways. The best way I can describe GameFi is make money and have fun doing it. So I would say that's what Warp's about, is making money and having fun doing it in a really cool multi-chain sci-fi environment.
Nice. Yeah. So that's something unique, is that a lot of GameFi isn't very fun. So if you can make GameFi that's fun, you've got to step up on everyone else.
Yeah.
Now it's built on a certain type of protocol. What's kind of the basic protocol what it's built on?
Yeah, totally. So we originally looked at all the stuff that Olympus DAO was doing with their rebasing token and all that stuff. And I know a lot of people have kind of mixed feelings about like Olympus DAO and then all of those Ohm forks that came out afterwards. We ourselves have mixed feelings about Ohm forks. Some of us have been in some that are really cool and some that are really terrible. For us, what we really liked the idea behind Ohm primarily of the building of a treasury was not that we as a team just wanted to take money and run away with it, but rather the idea that in some ways, like the Ohm model could be used in a way to think of like startup capital for like a company, right? So people are buying in, they're buying bonds at a discount, getting access to that token, depositing that stable coin into the treasury, and then from that, the development of the project can continue and go forward. But we didn't want to just copy. I mean, you guys have seen there's hundreds of Ohm forks that were just copy and pasted and literally just run, and we said, hey, we want to take that model, but we want to improve upon it. We want to fix a lot of different things that we saw as errors with it, and then we wanted to do it really in a sci-fi, GameFi sort of environment. So what we did was we basically created a whole NFT collection of starships that are super amazing, and you guys can see those on our website. I see that there's a couple posts that are in there. Deadpool, you can always post a couple of starship pictures if you want in there. Those are pretty cool. But basically, like we wanted to build NFTs that were associated with bonding. So when you bonded at a certain amount, you got a starship part, and then you would assemble all of those parts to get access to one of the NFT starships. And those starships could then be used inside of the ecosystem in really important ways. The first thing that we did when we launched on Polygon was we had a thing we called multi-planet staking, and that was where you were able to use that NFT starship and transition to different pools inside of our ecosystem. So we represented those pools as planets. So you're taking your same warp token, but then you were using that warp token on different planets, and each different planet then had its own unique APY, and the way to travel between those planets was to expend fuel. So over time, a lot of these rebasing tokens, the incentive for building the treasury disappears as bond discounts either go to zero or into the negative amount. We actually lose money if you buy a bond. For us, we wanted to get rid of bonds, and we actually did. We dropped our bonds 30 days after launch on Polygon, and instead we allowed the parts store where you could buy parts directly or buy fuel for your starship. That fed straight into the treasury, so the treasury could continue to grow without having to mint more tokens. And then that was kind of the foundation for us as a project. But what we built thereafter was we have now a starship battle system to where you can take your NFT starships and you can battle each other on the blockchain. We have our arcade, which actually a little alpha for you guys. Our lead dev and I were working on the arcade last night, and we're actually going to be introducing AI starships into the arcade. Right now it's really fun. We have up to 100 people can join one of the instances with no loading with your NFT starship, and the strength and speed starship that you bought or you acquired on our marketplace can actually determine the power and the strength both in the blockchain game as well as in the live multiplayer arcade. So basically then we released these games, and we have 2 more games on the way that are all centered around these NFTs. So a lot of these other Ohm projects, again, are everything's focused around the token and making sure that the token appreciates, or in some cases like Olympus DAO, it goes to $1, right? They just want the token to become a stable coin. For us, all of the economic activity and all the importance were centered around these NFT starships, and they are the keys that unlock all the systems that we have inside there. So I'll talk more about them. I realized I kind of started to talk about our project, like the features of the project. I don't want to get there yet, but yeah. So basically, we started out with some of the models of the Olympus DAO protocol, but we actually wrote all of our Solidity contracts in house, and so it wasn't a pure fork of Ohm. It was really a something that took some of the best parts of Ohm, got rid of some of the worst parts of Ohm, and then kind of built something new in a game environment. Sorry, that was a very long-winded introduction.
Yeah, no. You covered a lot of my questions. So let me circle back to so some of the things you've answered, but so you deployed on Polygon a while ago. What is it that made you guys decide to branch out to Phantom?
Yeah, so we had some really great, through Axiom, some really great connections with the Polygon team. And so we said, oh, hey, we'll launch on Polygon first. Ironically, we ended up launching on Polygon at probably one of the worst times you could launch on Polygon. Some may say, is there a good time to launch on Polygon? And we would say that's a fair point. But we launched like 10 minutes before we went live. Discord had their worldwide outage where the whole Discord, everything shut down. So that happened 10 minutes before launch. That was crazy. Then Polygon had that flower game that was it's just stealing gas and clogging up the entire network. And then all of the validators started writing zero blocks to protest. So it's literally the worst case launch environment for us. And it was still great. The token still did a 20x. We still ended up getting over $1 million in bonds. I mean, it was pretty great. All things considered, it was a good launch. But for us, really, as Polygon went on and we kept having these problems with the RPC, and it was just we knew for sure that we wanted to bring our multi-chain environment a lot sooner than we were originally expecting. And so that's when we developed the Warp Gate, which we'll talk about in a minute. But for us, we always felt like Phantom was the target network that we wanted to go. The community is amazing. The willingness of the community to participate in projects, to jump on board new elements like these, GameFi projects or the cool new DeFi stuff. We had a great connection with Tomb, which was awesome. And so it was it was a clear win for us to expand, to have our first major expansion beyond to the Phantom network. And the cool thing is, through the Warp Gate, which I'll talk about, everybody on Polygon isn't stuck. It's not like we're abandoning Polygon. We're rolling out Warp in seasons. So season 1 is nearly complete on Polygon. With the launch of the Warp Gate, season 1 will be finished, and so we're able to actually take the entire season, all of the things that we've built and developed, deploy it to Phantom, and then through the Warp Gate, everybody who's on Polygon can actually travel through the Warp Gate and participate on the Phantom network. So for us, it's we're all about our users, we're about user retention, we're about continuing to add value to these NFT starships. And giving everyone on Polygon access to Phantom is a huge step for that. So, of course, then getting connected with you guys. I mean, all of us use SpookySwap. SpookySwap is our go-to DEX. And so when we had the chance to connect with you guys and have you guys be the official DEX for Warp, it was just it was perfect for us because you guys have, such an incredible platform. We love it more than, we launched on Sushi on Polygon, and it's fine. It's fine. But SpookySwap was that for us was this is a perfect fit. You guys have taken such care and such attention to detail in the designing of your decks that for us it was okay, we want our a project that is as well built as Warp to be connected with you guys. So it truly is a pleasure. Sorry, that's a plug for SpookySwap, but we are here. So
no, we appreciate it. We appreciate it. I mean, for someone to say that we did Sushi better than SushiSwap did, that's pretty nice. So you have a token. It's the Warp token. Can you tell me a little bit about the Warp token, and is your Warp bridge that you're making, is that related to the token, or is that related to the starships that you've built?
Yeah, totally. So because we built ourselves on a similar model to Ohm, we are rebasing token, which means, so I would say the token part of our ecosystem, because we have all of the game and NFT collection stuff, which is inherently different than obviously just a single token. Right. But the Warp token itself is built on a rebasing model. So what does that mean? I mean, what we are working with a by nature an inflationary token model. So when you guys buy bonds at a discount, you're trading stablecoin for the warp token. So you can actually through when we launch on Phantom, you'll be able to buy tokens at a discount through the bonding engine, which also gives you an NFT Starship part, and then you'll come over to Spooky to trade those back for DAI or whatever you want to do, or you can stake those tokens inside of our ecosystem. But we have naturally an inflationary model. Now the cool thing is that we have like literally a world-class algorithm and mathematician. His name is Pete. This guy is like, his brain is the most complicated thing I've ever seen in my entire life. He is so smart when it comes to mathematics. So all of us come from that long-term staking project called Axion, and so we're very aware of what inflation does and how to curtail inflation and how to make sure that we create a tokenomic model that is sustainable for the long term. Now, and so for us, the initial launch was we created the bonding, we launched the token, and then people actually did, pretty well, even with all the worst case scenario on Polygon. We did have a lot of people who made money in the early days of Warp, and especially with multi-planet staking, where you could transfer your ship from planet to planet and earn those additional APYs, and we let the starships themselves, as they're traveling from planet to planet, staking and unstaking from all these different pools, they actually contributed to what the APIs were. Because if everybody went to planet 3, for example, and then they stake their tokens, the APY would drop, right? Because there's a lot of people there. Whereas the APY on planet 2 might go up, which means then that people would go back from planet 3 to planet 2 as a part of kind of that process. Hold on. I can't type in and talk at the same time. I'm going to just share a quick screenshot of what our map looks like, because it kind of showcases like how it looks. So basically, that was kind of the initial way for us to build basically the token. Okay, I'm just doing a quick screenshot here of our UI because you guys can see a little bit of what the there you go. I just posted it in the AMA questions, so you can see what our map looks like inside of our UI. We built a really cool user interface. You guys can see it at app.warp.game. But then, so basically, we built this rebasing token, and naturally inflationary. So what we did is we added a couple things to it. So we actually have a 5% burn fee that happens. So on sale, all sales of the token, 5% gets burned. So those tokens are gone forever. So that helps curtail deflation. And then what we actually just introduced to Polygon was now using Warp as an in currency. That was always our design. We had to work through a lot of the different contract adjustments to make sure that it could work, especially because everything was originally pegged to stablecoin. So determining value at time of using the Warp token inside of our ecosystem without having to have our users deal with like manually setting slippage if they wanted to like buy a part or something like that. Is kind of a pain. So we're trying to make the Warp token as easy as possible. But the cool thing is now, like in our Starship Battle ecosystem, which we can talk about in a minute, you can actually bet Warp. We used to do DAI, and now you'll be able to bet Warp the token itself. So you might, you buy your bonds at a discount, right? You stake your tokens on a planet, and then from your earnings, you can actually use your earnings as currency inside of all of our game features. So that means you can take some of the Warp that you've earned, you can bet it in the battles with your starship against another player, and then actually play that battle out on the blockchain through a really cool interface that we have. And then you'll basically be able to earn more off of that Warp token. And then if your starship gets damaged in the battle, you can use Warp to repair your starship back to full health. And then as we head into Season 2, we're introducing Starship Racing, ship expeditions, and ship upgrades. So you'll actually be able to pay for your upgrades exclusively using Warp itself. So the cool thing about that is that, regardless of kind of what's happening to the token in terms of its valuation, its market valuation, there's going to be opportunities to be able to stake and earn, and then use those earnings inside of the ecosystem itself. And we'll use a deflationary measure. So like if people are buying starship parts, for example, because they want to build or upgrade new starships, well, we can burn those tokens bonds, meaning that they're not hitting supply, which means that we have a deflationary measure to counteract the APYs that are coming from planet staking. Now, it's not going to be, they're not going to equate. Planet staking is generally going to be a lot more inflationary than what we do with our game model, but it just showcases that we now have new opportunities for the token itself as a game currency that allows for more features kind of within the ecosystem. So right now, actually on Polygon, you can bet warp in the battles. You can earn warp in the battles, and you can repair your starship using the warp token, and that's been pretty cool for our users. I don't know if that answers your question, but
that was a lot. So
yeah.
so starships are obviously a big part of this.
Mhm.
You get parts from bonding. That's what I've picked up. Now, if I wanted to, but you've also had that you launched on Polygon, and people have already built these starships, right? So, people that have built starships on Polygon, they're going to be able to move it over with Season 2.
Yeah. Or they can move. Yeah.
And so, if I'm on Phantom and I'm like, I just want to get a starship, how would I go about doing that? And can I do that, or do I have to start over with just bonding?
Yeah, so those are great questions. So let me kind of tell you a little bit about like how the starship building ecosystem works. So right now, when we launch on Phantom, when bonds and the token launch on Phantom, you will be able to buy. You'll be able to purchase bonds, and all bonds at $250 or more come with a starship part. And the value of the part that the value of the bond that you create determines the strength of the starship part itself. So right now, if you buy a bond at $250, you'll get a part that is equal to 250 points. Which means that as you are, if you decide you wanted to get a $500 bond or a $1,000 bond, then you'll have a part value of 500 or 1,000 respectively. Now, the cool thing is that you also get tokens with that. So not only do you get a starship part, which has inherent value as an NFT, because you can buy, sell, and trade starship parts to other captains, but you can also then get the tokens that you can stake or sell off after the 5-day bond window, all that sort of stuff. But the part selection is random. So whenever you get minted, you either get minted a hull or bridge or an engine, and you can't control it. If you want to buy a starship part directly without warp tokens, you actually go to our parts store, and you can use a stable coin to buy those starship parts directly, and those come at basically half value. So if you want to buy a 250 point bridge or something, then you would pay $125 in stablecoin, and you can directly select what part you want. So you could go in and create a couple bonds, and if you get 2 bridges and a hull, well, you can sell one of your bridges, and then with those funds you can buy an engine, and then you'll have a complete starship. So that's kind of the process if you're wanting to generate new starship parts. But the cool thing, and one of the things we're actually the most proud of, is we have what's called the shipyard, and the shipyard is our own internal NFT market. So we knew that we would be launching onto platforms or onto different blockchains that may not have a predominant NFT marketplace like OpenSea. And I know like Phantom has like PaintSwap and a couple others, but for us, we wanted to create a NFT marketplace built straight into our ecosystem that allowed the players to sell parts directly to each other and starships directly to each other without having to go to a third party. So right now you can actually go to the shipyard on on the app on Polygon, and you can actually buy ships from other users directly, including being able to sort what strength you want your components of each ship, what brands. Like we had a custom giveaway ship, so if you want like a tomb ship, for example, you can find the tomb ships that were made on Polygon. And then you can also sort by, hey, what planet is it on? So let's say there's like crazy high APYs on planet 4, and instead of sending a starship over there, you can buy a starship that's on planet 4 and then have immediate access to the staking pools that are available on planet 4 itself. And all of that is powered through what the users are doing. And we've actually been really encouraged to see the value of these NFTs remain high. So there's NFTs for sale for minimum of about $300 all the way up to a maximum of like 30 grand. And so these NFT starships themselves are doing what we hoped they would do, and that is maintain their value. So you can actually go and buy a starship right now from another player straight through our interface, finding exactly what type of starship you want. Because when you assemble all of your parts in our factory, you're not guaranteed the archetype. So if you want a specific ship, you really like the look of it, you can actually go buy it straight on the marketplace. And then let's say you get a starship on Polygon, or in the future when we launch on Phantom, you have a starship there. You can use the warp gate, and the warp gate, I think, for me actually is one of the coolest and one of the most important parts of our ecosystem because of what it does. So the warp gate is our own built-in NFT bridge. And what does that mean? It means that you can take your starship with all of its experience points that you've earned in battle, how much fuel it has, the damage it has, the strength attributes of each of its components, and you can send it from one chain to another. So everybody on Polygon right now who has a starship, who is selling a starship, whatever it is, can actually send their starship through the warp gate and have it emerge on the Phantom network, where then they can take that starship and they can fly it to different planets. They can battle it against other Phantom players. They can sell it if they want to be some of the first people to list starships for sale on the in the shipyard. They'll be able to sell those NFTs to other players who might be coming in and going, oh, I want a ship, I don't want a bond, I want to buy a starship directly. And then they were going to then they can buy basically that ship there. But then the cool thing is, as we do expand to other networks in the future, we'll be able to host like chain specific events. So like our targets in the future, we don't know when these are going to be, but at some point in the future, we'll have an Avalanche version of Warp. We'll have a Binance Smart Chain version of Warp. But then we can say, hey, like everybody who's on Binance, everybody's on Avalanche or Polygon, we say, hey, at this time, on this date, on the Phantom network, we're going to be doing like a specific giveaway. Like we could do a cool, SpookySwap NFT giveaway. Bring your starships to this planet on Phantom. And so then now we have users from all these other chains bridging their starships over, coming to this certain planet. And then we can do an airdrop. We can do an NFT giveaway. We can do all this sort of stuff because we know what ships are there and we know what planet they're currently on. So we can actually filter by that on the blockchain. And the cool thing is actually right now, even if you go to our the shipyard and you look at different starships, you see there's an origin tag. And right now all the origins are Polygon. But in the future, you're going to see starships that were created on Phantom, on Binance Smart Chain, on Avalanche, on Polygon. And you'll know, hey, that's cool. This starship came from an entirely different universe. And now they're existing here in the on the Phantom network. So for us, the warp gate has always been one of the most important because we want our users to be able to send their starships from chain to chain. Right now, in its current state, warp tokens cannot be bridged over. So warp tokens will stay. So if you are on Polygon, you have a bunch of warp, you can sell it off for DAI, bridge those tokens over to Phantom, and then rebuy. But your starship, the thing that you've invested in, you're building a narrative around, all that sort of stuff, you can transfer straight through the warp gate. But we are partnered with Synapse. So Sam from Synapse, he's one of the main guys over there at Synapse. He's on our advisory team. And we have a partnership with Synapse. So what we're actually looking at doing, possibly in season 2, is to have your starship be able to load up tokens onto it. So you could load stable coins. Maybe in the future you can also load warp tokens. You'll load those tokens into your ship itself, and then Synapse will actually handle the bridging, so you can take all the tokens that you want along with your starship and have them arrive on the destination network. And the Synapse team and our team have already been talking and starting to do some early dev work on making that possible. But it's cool. It's a really cool, exciting opportunity for us to create, by nature, a multi-chain environment that's built straight into our ecosystem. It's not like some of these other projects where they launch, new versions of their whole project, but they don't talk to each other. They're just copy and pastes the code on different different chains.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. What you guys are building, because, you have ohm forks and they come and go, and you're building more of a total ecosystem. And it's interesting about how by building the NFTs into the ecosystem, people, myself included, have worked on trying to build utility for NFTs. And what I like about this is that you've built this into your ecosystem, and the fact that they're holding their value. So then it's less speculative and it's more of like, oh, they actually have value, you know, rather. So it's kind of like your TVL is higher. No one yet. I mean, until they start really using NFTs as collateral across in a wider range, you know. Then it reflects more of your TV. There, you have a lot more TVL wrapped up in these NFTs. But it's less speculative. It more has a real value. So that's a cool thing too.
Yeah. And I'll post this here. I'm just posting in the AMA questions channel a screenshot of the interface that's about to go live. So we're going to surprise the Polygon community and launch the Warp Gate in our Phantom ship ecosystem early. So for everybody who's on Polygon, you'll be able to actually send your starships through the Warp Gate. I did the tutorial yesterday. We do a tutorial series with all our new features, and I was recording it. And so I was actually sending starships back and forth between Polygon and Phantom like 10 times throughout the recording of the tutorial. And so, but you can see, you know, in this interface, we've got like our cool opening graphic. It's a cool video, and then you select your starship in your different universe. And this is our test network. So right now it shows that there's only 8 chips on Phantom, but it's cool because you'll actually be able to see how many starships exist on that chain, and then you have the ability to deploy them out. So yeah, you know, we want to, you hit the nail on the head. Like, we really want to make the starships be the most valuable currency inside the Warp ecosystem, and there's a fixed supply of them, and so we hope that they will maintain their value, maintain their exclusivity, and as we grow and develop new game environments that are all centered around owning a starship, you know, they become access tokens really for all the cool things in our ecosystem. So like, you know, for example, right now you can buy Warp and you can stake it on Earth, and that, you know, you can do that without needing to have a NFT starship. But if you want to travel new planets, if you want to battle in the arena, if you want to play the arcade, in the future when we do ship racing and ship expeditions, all of those things will need to be done in ships. Oh, I forgot to mention something really cool. I'll say this real quick. So the same way that we built the shipyard where people are buying and selling starships to each other, one cool thing that we actually already developed all the code for it. It's basically ready to go. We just need to finish the UI, and that is ship rentals. And that's important for us because we want starships to retain their value, but we also want to lower the barrier of entry for people who want to experiment with our ecosystem but may not want to make a multi-hundred or multi-$1,000 NFT purchase in order to kind of play in our ecosystem. And so ship rentals is going to work the same way that it does with the shipyard, where you sell your starships, where basically you as a starship owner are going to be able to list your starship for a certain amount of stablecoin like DAI per day. So like 10 DAI, 10 USDC per day to rent my starship. And then somebody will say, hey, I want to take this starship and I want to rent it for 5 days. So they rent it for 5 days, it goes off the marketplace, and then they basically prepay that fee. So you as a starship owner now just earned 50 DAI through renting your starship out because somebody wants to play with it for a couple of days or whatever. And then that user can have access to the whole ecosystem. They can stake, they can battle, they can play in the arcade. When we have ship racing, they'll be able to do ship races, ship expeditions, all that stuff. And then when they're done, you as the starship owner, because, you know, it's the blockchain and you can't like force somebody to do a transaction, you as a starship owner at the end of the term can claim that starship back and have that again in your inventory. And we're doing it, you know, so that person can't, the starship becomes non-transferable when it's during a rental period. So when somebody has it in their wallet, only you as the owner and technically the rental contract. So that's how we'll maintain a degree of ownership over the NFT if something does happen. But that user can't then take that starship and go sell it on OpenSea or something like that, or PaintSwap, because they don't actually own the starship. It's basically being temporarily lended to them. But the cool thing is now the starships retain their value because we don't need to drop their value in order to get new people in. You as a NFT owner earn some passive income off of renting your starship out to somebody. And the cool thing is that if that person is using that starship in the battle arena or the arcade where they can earn experience in our ecosystem actually stays with the chips, not with the wallet. So as people are out earning, playing in battles and stuff, your starship is gaining experience, which allows you to use it in some pretty cool ways in Season 2. And you're not having to pay basically for that experience kind of to come out. But then kind of also the fun part about it too is that if somebody goes out and beats the shit out of your starship and they completely destroy the thing because they've been using it in a bunch of battles, then you will be returned a starship that you need to repair. It's part of the, it's like if you rented out a house or rented out a car, somebody destroys it. So we're actually looking at charging warp that we can then use to burn as a way to have like an insurance policy. So if you decide, hey, I'm going to pay a little bit extra, I want to make sure that my starship comes back in full health. When you claim your starship back, the damage is fixed and the starship is refueled so that you get it back in perfect condition. So it's kind of fun to build in all these sort of game elements around the starships themselves that can be mutually beneficial for everyone. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's obviously you're building an ecosystem for that to last, right? You're building something that's not just and I'm kind of repeating myself from earlier, but not just an ohm fork that's been built and it goes down to $0, goes down to $1, whatever, and everyone kind of gives up on it. You're building more of an ecosystem, which is really cool. Let me ask you, there is a lot to learn with this. What is the best way for someone to try to learn? I know there's tutorials out there. Where would they go to find those, and how would they go to learn a lot more about this project?
Yeah, so great question. I'm really proud of our tutorial series. We've tried to make it as easily accessible for people to be able to come in and understand what's going on in the ecosystem, as well as have access to all the different or to basically go through and view all the different components. So I'm just going to find it real quick from our info links here on our Discord, official links, and here is the YouTube channel. So we basically put together an entire playlist called the Warp Navigator Tutorial Series, and it goes through everything from an introduction to Warp to how to buy starships, why you would want to bond, how to travel between planets, and then we're about to release the video on how to, there we go, I just posted the link in the AMA questions channel, but how to use the warp gate. So basically, we want to make sure that our ecosystem is friendly. As you guys know as well, being here on Discord, if you do have questions, if people don't, want to know how things work and come into the ecosystem, whatever, like we have our Discord, we have our Telegram and Twitter that are available to answer questions. So it is, in terms of ecosystems, there is a pretty high degree of complexity. But what's cool is that we found people kind of find a different home. So there's like some people who find and build the NFT ecosystem. So they love all the NFT stuff, the rarity. Each starship is procedurally generated. They all have their own rarity. And I did all those designs. I'm really proud of them. I'll send a screenshot of the different classes that we have here. But then we also have the DeFi stuff. So people love like the rebasing token, the rebasing protocol. They love all that sort of graphical elements of like, figuring out, which planet has the best APYs, how to get over there, all that stuff. And then we have people who really like the game aspect of it. So we've built the multiplayer game in Unity, as well as the blockchain-based game, the Starship Battles. And you can play in the game elements of it. And we have games in development that we're building right now. They're going to be releasing to the community, all centered around the NFTs themselves. And so, for our users, like it is a great opportunity for kind of a long-lasting ROI. And an ROI doesn't necessarily come in money, right, in terms of like getting stablecoin or staking rewards. Those are there for sure, but also just in a lot of fun in the community. We did one thing I'm actually really proud of is we did an art contest. So we had people in our community create art that I then took and put on the faces of all these NFT starships, and then we actually gave those starships, those unique one-of-one starships, out to the community. Out to the artists themselves who actually made it. So now all those artists got to see their artwork immortalized forever in a custom one-of-one NFT starship, and that sort of stuff for me is really cool. We're working with other GameFi projects here. So we just announced Podtown. We've got another one we're announcing today, and Podtown is building a cool NFT game where you have cute little creatures that are running around in cool little environments, Stardew Valley, and we're actually building an integration with them, so we'll actually be able to see warp starships exist as cute little pixelized versions of themselves inside their game environment, as well as have a a game, a building interior that is styled after like Warp, and then also in the games that we're building, the ones we haven't announced yet, we're going to be integrating Pod Town stuff, and that actually is something that we're really excited about for expeditions. Because or quests, our questing system. So the partnerships that we've made on our website, we're really proud of all the different ones, including with you guys here in SpookySwap. But what we're doing is when you have in season 2, when you launch your ship on an expedition, you can choose whether you want to have a short, medium, or long expedition term, and that determines both the time it takes as well as the rarity of what your starship may bring back. And so your starship departs on a quest. When it returns, it has a chance of bringing back different types of loot. Some of that loot might be stuff inside the warp ecosystem, like fuel cells or starship parts or warp tokens or repair kits or any of that sort of stuff, as well as something I'm personally excited about, which is a derelict ship. So your starship might return with a derelict, a ship that's been busted up and needs repairs. You can repair that starship and then actually use it inside of our ecosystem and have a whole new ship in your fleet. But one of the things that we're very excited about is with our partners, we're actually working to build in a discovery period for the starships to bring back partner NFTs, bring back partner tokens. And so your starship might depart and then come back with something like a pod town, or we have a partnership with Polydoge on Polygon with their Metapet series. They're going to give us 800 Metapets. And so your starship might come back with one of their really awesome AI powered Metapets. We're looking at even doing tokens and stuff here. So we have a great partnership with Tomb, and they're looking at okay, what can we do? You know, as a starship goes out and comes back, talking with you guys here in Spooky, and like, hey, what are some things that we can do that are going to create value for users who deploy their starships on these expeditions? We want them to come back not just with warp stuff, but with other project stuff, because when you read the description of what your starship discovered, it has links to our partner projects, it has information about how to get there, links to their Twitter and Discord and all that stuff, and it can be a form of discovery for our users to get introduced to cool new projects that they might not otherwise, but they love the ship expeditions, part of Warp. So, all that stuff is stuff we're really excited about building.
Yeah, for sure. No, I could totally see how partners would want to interact with you guys to do that, cross marketing and synergy and that kind of thing. It's a great ecosystem you're building for that kind of thing. So you keep on talking about season 2. When does season 2 start?
So basically, season 1 is, for all intents and purposes, complete. We're launching that now to our multi-chain environment. So Phantom will be launching with all the season 1 elements that Polygon has. We originally spaced everything out relatively slowly on Polygon, but Phantom will actually be launching a much more accelerated timeline. So when we launch, we'll have 3 planets available, for example, where Polygon only had 1, and then we'll release the final 2 planets over the course of like 2 weeks. But season 2 is well in development right now. We have all of the expeditions and the starship racing, and then the 2 arcade games coming as well. And so season 2, we're looking at launching probably at the end of quarter 2. So basically it'll be about 1.5 to 2 months before all of the season 2 functionality drops. And that's one of the cool things we're excited about, is that season 2 comes feature complete. So it'll drop with 2 new games, Starship Expeditions, quests, and racing, and then also multi-chain partnerships. So we'll have community factions that you can join where you're exclusively a part of a specific team, and you get to earn rewards for your team and share experience and all that sort of stuff. And so all of that is coming, really dropping the entire thing onto the ecosystem up, and we'll be updating the Warp ecosystem on Polygon and Phantom to match. So as soon as season 2 drops, you'll be able to experience all the cool season 2 activities regardless of which chain you're on. So we'll always be updating every single instance of Warp, no matter what chain, to all be at the same time. So that'd be cool, right? So it's like I mentioned, we have a chain specific event. You'll be able to take that, you'll be able to participate in that chain specific event, bridge your token through the warp gate from Polygon to Phantom, or from Avalanche to Phantom, or wherever else we're at. Participate in that event, and then you can head back to your home chain after you've taken your NFT with you or something like that, and that'll be a cool feature for us to have. So all seasons deploying to all chains that Warp has a presence on, and we're looking at about a month and a half from now before season 2 launches. It could be a little bit earlier. We actually have a lot of stuff done, and so we may surprise everybody and pop it earlier. But we're giving ourselves a little window too, especially because of all the multi-chain stuff. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you have a season 3, and that's way out. But do you have any predictions as to when that would be, and what could we see with season 3?
We've been trying to release everything on a quarterly system. So the original plan was to have 4 seasons per year. Right now, we've gotten to the end of season 1, and obviously we're in April, heading into May, and so we basically kind of adjusted our timeline a little bit to about a quarter and a half. So that way we have a little bit of time. So season 3 will probably be dropping in the fall. So season 2 will be our summer release. Season 3 will be our fall release. And then season 4 will be introduced probably in the winter, early next year. Season 3 I'm actually personally really excited about season 3. There's going to be new ship archetypes, including carrier ships, which I'm excited about. And we, right now on our map, we just have a couple of planets. But season 2 and season 3 are going to introduce a new galaxy map, and this is where we're going to have a much more cool 3D environment for these planets and the starships to exist in. But season 3, we're looking at making the bridge from 2D to 3D. In terms of our NFTs, as well as the ship interiors that we're working on, and so being able to walk around or otherwise explore and decorate your starships, starship interiors, your cockpits and bridges is on the roadmap for actually, I think it's on our hidden roadmap for season 3, so I think I totally just leaked it, but that's coming.
Oops. It's okay. So that would be using Unity or something like that, or you can walk around inside your ship.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So I absolutely just leaked that. But yeah, that's something that's kind we're excited about. And again, building the GameFi partnerships too is really cool. We want to see a lot of cross pollination in terms of what we're doing in the game environment. But yeah, I mean, the cool thing is the arcade is live right now. Right now the arcade is a perfect place for people to come in and hang out. But we're introducing enemy AI it's actually really cool because the arcade has no loading screens. It's running on a server constantly, so you can join and leave at any time. It's up to 100 people simultaneously, and if there's more than 100, then it creates a new server instance. But the cool thing is, with the enemy AI that's going to be in there, they're going to be battling each other constantly. So if nobody's in the battle arena, the AIs are still spawning as player instances and actually fighting each other. So when you actually jump in, there's always going to be a battle going on, which is pretty cool for us to have. It's not so we're actually, just for fun, we're building in statistics to see which of the AI in there is lasting the longest, which one is the most battle hardened before it gets destroyed, and then allowing our players to come in, and that actually paves the way for team factions inside of the arcade, as well as different game modes. So the cool thing is we already have a WebGL environment. People right now, I mean, a lot of these projects create themselves. They want to sell NFTs, and they say in the future we're going to do this and that. I mean, right now we already have an awesome turn-based blockchain game where you can actually win warp. We already have our arcade game running in Unity in a WebGL environment, and then we already have all the multi-planet staking with the cool map. We have the warp gate that's launching with the token bridge. I mean, in terms of projects that have actual features and not just promises, we've got a lot of stuff all ready to go, and season 2 is full on development. So we're really excited. We're really proud of everything we built.
Yeah, no, definitely, it sounds like it. And it sounds like a really complete ecosystem. I mean, obviously you're building a lot more to it, but certainly more farther ahead than most things you see. It makes me wonder, how big is the team behind this?
So there's about 11 of us total working more or less full time. So we have all of us on kind of the main leadership team. So there's 5 of us there. So it's myself and Dead Poet, but then we also have our lead developer T Deli. We have our lead algorithms and economics guy Pete C, and then our UI developer Jordan. So we kind of compose the team that made pretty much everything that you guys see here. We have an awesome Galactic outreach team. Shout out to Fix and Shimmer. I think Fix is in this chat. and Fix and Shimmer like lead up the Galactic Gorillas, which is our volunteer army of Twitter enthusiasts, and so they're all out shilling Warp all day long, and they're an amazing team. And then we have a moderator team that works to moderate Discord and Telegram, as well as our marketing guy who's Destroyer. He does all of our Twitter, and then we have our lead advisor from Synapse, Sam. So yeah, I mean, there's a good little crew of us working on this, and we're proud to have all. I mean, a lot of us have been working together for a year or more, and good teams build good products. I actually saw one of the questions way back at the beginning of this AMA thing I saw was somebody's asking what are you doing with the treasury resources? So back at the very beginning of Warp, it was relatively controversial because all of these Ohm protocol things were all DAOs, and everybody wanted voting rights and all that sort of stuff. And I think DAOs are awesome in principle. I think that they can be really cool. I also think that DAOs are empty promises where you can say you're a DAO, but the devs are the ones who hold the keys to the ecosystem, and they can rug pull the project at any time, whether people want to vote on it or not. Obviously, there are projects that are much better built that prevent stuff like that from happening, and votes are required. Curve is a great example of that stuff. But generally speaking, a lot of these Ohm protocols really got a bad rap because they were kind of misled. We from the very beginning have been very clear, like we're not a DAO. We're not doing things based off of community vote. We're a GameFi project. We're building cool games, and we want and love community feedback and ideas. And a lot of ideas from our community have actually been implemented in our ecosystem. But we're not doing it based off of a vote. So the treasury that gets built, again, we really see as like seed funding, as investor belief in the product. And we actually haven't touched our treasury, which is great. We invested. We're partnered with Beefy, and so we actually put on Polygon the yield farming kind of from the treasury, but we're actually using the treasury to continue to pay the team to continue to develop the project. As you guys can see with us going multi-chain, we have the Warp Gate, all the different games and all that stuff. That's coming because the community believes in the project and allows us to continue to move forward and develop all of these more features. And the cool thing is that we haven't even touched the treasury resources on Polygon, so we've actually all been feeding ourselves. We're really proud of the fact that we are a fair launch token. So when we launched on Polygon and when we launch on Phantom, there's no pre-sales, no IDOs, no influencer tokens, no team tokens. So like on Polygon, I had to buy my own token in order to get in, and I did. I got totally wrecked on buying my own token, and I think that that's awesome. Like I didn't get any special favors. Everybody, including the dev team, all had the same chances and the same odds, and we're really proud of that. We raised our own liquidity. We use that from our team funds that we've been saving up, and so doing the same thing for our Phantom launch. We're using our own liquidity from the team, and so we want our investors and the participants in our ecosystem to feel really confident that this is a passionate and dedicated team who raised the funds themselves. We didn't do a pre-sale. Nobody else owns tokens, and now we are launching in a multi-chain environment. So we hope that's as absolutely bullish as it possibly can be.
Yeah, so you covered one of the community questions. It looks like Dead Poet was able to answer most of them, I think. So is there anything that we did not cover that you would like to say or mention?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we actually haven't announced this to the Warp community quite yet, but we did decide we were actually going to be launching this Tuesday, so May 3rd. We're going to be launching on Phantom just because of market sentiment, as well as the opportunities to get connected to a couple of really cool GameFi projects. We're also having a conversation with the Phantom Foundation later this, I guess it's Thursday, so it's tomorrow. And so because of kind of some opportunities for us to potentially grow a couple of really cool partnership integrations before launch, we decided to push the launch back by a week. So instead of launching May 3rd, we're actually going to be launching May 10th to Phantom. But we are going to be opening up the entire ship ecosystem. So the shipyard, the NFT marketplace, the Warp Gate, the ship factory, all that stuff is going to be released to Phantom probably this weekend, if not very early next week, so that everybody on Polygon can prepare for the Phantom launch. But when we do launch, we're launching May 10th. We're going to have 40% discount on Warp Dai LP bonds, but we're also doing a 35% discount on Warp tokens for a very short window of time on USDC, MAI, and Frax on Phantom. So if you do have those stable coins and you want to jump in, and then again, if you do, you can buy if you bond at $250 or more, you get a free Starship part that's attached to those tokens, or you can just buy Starship parts directly, either from other users or from our parts store, and then participate kind of in the ecosystem and everything kind of that we're doing. So May 10th, noon PST. I don't remember what that is in GMT. Is when we'll be launching the whole token and the bond system. And the cool thing is like honestly, really terrible Ohm forks had really great launches, and so we've built something really cool, we're really proud of and passionate of, and even on Polygon, it's actually done pretty well, and it's stabilized really nicely, and we didn't overinflate. In fact, in some cases, actually, we were under our target inflation, which is really cool for us. It's a really proud moment for us. So we're working to make sure that we manage the token inflation, and we're not just going to overmint the token to death by having 1 billion% APY and 50% bond discounts at the beginning. We want our users to love holding the warp token and earning staking rewards, but then also spending those rewards in our ecosystem as an in-game currency. So I don't know, Dead Poet, if there's anything else you want to mention, but we'd have everybody here from the Spooky community jump in on Launch of Warp. One thing, what we need to do, let me just real quick share here. We have our I'm really glad I remember this. We have our Warp countdown page, and it's basically where I can't type. Hold on, SpookySwap. There we go. So I'll post this here in the AMA questions and on general, just in case anybody misses it. And so basically, what we're doing is we're giving away 11 SpookySwap themed starships. These are unique one-of-ones. They're themed with the SpookySwap logo and branding. Nobody else will be able to own them. And so if you guys do want to have a chance to win one of these one-of-one NFTs, just go to that website, sign up. We have a referral code, so you can copy that referral code and send it to your friends if you want to have a chance to win. But I personally actually the SpookySwap colors, and also having the Magic Hat and all that stuff on the starship itself is one of my favorite designs. I love this color palette. The ship itself I think looks really cool, and I'm excited to see that come in and every other archetype that we have. I want a SpookySwap shuttle. I think it's going to be so awesome. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for this, AMA, and thanks for listening to me talk. I know I can talk for a while, so thanks for spending an hour with me.
Oh yeah, no, you're very welcome, and thanks for giving us your time and talking about your project. And we're really looking forward to the launch May 10th.
May 10th.
Yeah,
coming for us. We're ready.
We're ready.
Actually, it's great. On Polygon, we were really it was coming down to the wire. We got to get this launched. We're actually we've been ready for a couple weeks. We're just finishing up a couple of things, and so our team mood is so much different than it was on Polygon. We're so stressful. We're just relaxing our way into a Phantom launch, and that feels really nice. I love Phantom. I'm so excited. This is going to be a great launch. Awesome. We're all relaxed.
Awesome. All right, great. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Owen. Appreciate your time.
Participating. Yep.
Sweet. Take care, everybody. It's a pleasure. Talk to you all soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.